Harrison Strickland, welcome.
David Mouse.
Very good to have you here. I've had a number of younger founders on the podcast, but not many that have got not one, but two businesses.
Indeed.
So one of them you started, one of them you came into unexpectedly.
Did.
Before we get into that though, where did it all come about? Like when did you start getting entrepreneurial? I'm curious.
I'd like to say, like, every entrepreneur says, I was a little kid and I was always hustling, but to be honest, I had no clue what I was doing with my life, especially coming out of high school. I sort of thought I'm going to be a tradie, and all my friends became builders and sparkies, and I thought I was just going to follow suit and get a qualification. And my dad sort of gave me a bit of a lesson because he was always an entrepreneur. Throughout my entire childhood, he was always building businesses and always his own boss. So he said, we're going to go dig some holes in your grandmother's backyard. And he said he'll pay me $10 for every hole that I dig. And I was like, oh, sweet. So we're digging holes. We're building a deck, by the way, not just digging up my grandmother's backyard. But I was digging holes and I probably made $100. It took me the entire day and my back was sore. I had blisters on my hands. I was wrecked. And about 2 weeks later, he said that he's got a client who has a empty section that he needs drone photos for. I'd always been into filmmaking and photography since I was a little kid making YouTube videos. So I was like, sweet, knew how to use the drone, went out. Probably took me an hour or so, hour and a half to get there, shoot the section, get back home and edit. And they paid us about $250. And my dad sort of just let me weigh up, which was the more profitable and easier to do and easier way to make money. And he sort of let me figure it out for myself. And that's when I sort of realized that I didn't want to work digging holes all day. I wanted to use my skills.
So is that more a metaphor? Working hourly versus working like value based?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
There we go. If you sit a tiny bit more forward.
Yeah, so I suppose it was a bit of a metaphor. Just learn. It was a lesson just teaching me that I could leverage my skills that I'd been learning for the last 10 years of my life that I didn't even know I was building to make money instead of using my back and using my brain instead of my brawn, as my grandfather would say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so how did it work? You left school and then what did you do?
So on the last year of high school, I started what I called Aerial Aperture, which was originally just a drone photography business. My father bought a drone for his company and I decided that I liked it and wanted to play with it, and I decided I want to make money with it. So I started the business. I started a website. It was awful. I barely got any clients. I probably sent like a couple emails a week. Like I wasn't really trying. I was sort of focused on school. But yeah, after I left high school, that's when I decided, right, I want to go all in on this because I'd had my first couple of little sales. I was probably charging $100 for a drone shoot, and I started up out of high school. My dad gave me a loan of about $2,000 for a camera. I'd already had some savings put together, so I went out, bought a camera, had nothing in my bank account after that, and I was in debt $2,000 to my dad. So every sale that I made, I was basically just giving the entirety to him. Luckily, I lived at home, didn't have any overhead, so it was kind of just, I paid it off in probably a few months after. And it was a good incentive to sort of just put my head down and start figuring out how business worked.
If I could interrupt the podcast for one moment, I want to say a big thank you to one of our sponsors, Stoke Homes. Whether it's your first home or your dream home, think Stoke Homes. Thank you. Yeah. And how was the process of getting your clients? How did that look like?
Just raw hustle, really. Just I went to show homes. I remember driving around going to show homes and sort of walking in and saying, hey, you know, I'm starting up this photography business. Could I do some free photos for you guys? And I'd go in there and take the photos. They'd be the worst photos you've ever seen because I had no idea how to do real estate photography. I was just experimenting and trying to find my pace and how it all worked. And yeah, it just started off door knocking basically and sending cold emails, which I still do to this day.
Did you find that hard? Did you find that process of door knocking hard? Did you fear like rejection, or did you just bust on in there and not think about it too much? Or
my dad did a good job at teaching me that, you know, not to care about what people think. You're going to get a million no's, and you know it's just the one person that says yes. I wouldn't say shy as a kid. I'm a mix between introverted and extroverted. I never wanted to pick up the phone though. That was the biggest thing. Like I was the kid that couldn't pick up the phone to order takeaways, yet alone get on a call and try and get someone to give me money.
really?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. And my dad sort of worked it out of me by just saying, you got to do it. And I did. So
Yeah, right. And then fast forward into the point of, say, like, what was the first 6, 9, 12 months like? Did you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is good, I've got momentum, I can feel like this is going to be a thing?
I think the first 6 months that I was in business, I didn't really make much, as you know most businesses do. I was working part-time with my dad in his business doing project management. So it was sort of like on my breaks, and even, you know, he even knew it sort of, when I was supposed to be working for him, I'd sort of be doing little things on the side to build my business. Yeah, I think it wasn't until halfway through the second year that I was starting to actually make consistent money that I could pay myself like a weekly paycheck. And then I was like, okay, this is working, I can scale this, and yeah, just keep building on top of the, like you said, momentum.
Yeah. Was there doubt along that journey? Was there moments where you're like, far out, maybe this is like too hard, like maybe I'm better off going to go dig some holes?
Never a doubt, but more shiny object syndrome, which I think a lot of young entrepreneurs fall into. Like I was like, oh well, if I can make money building this business, then I can do something bigger. I can make a drop shipping store or a social media marketing agency, or you know, you hear all the buzzwords that all these gurus push online. So it's like you get distracted a little bit, and I think it was, I started a drop shipping store when I was already making, I think I was making like $4 grand a month with ApertureHD, and I created a drop shipping store out of nowhere, opened a Shopify account, and started trying to drop ship Chinese camera equipment. And I was like, why is this not working? Why am I not making money? And then my dad was like, you know, you got to focus on what you're good at and what you're doing, and just double down on what's working, and there'll be no need to have multiple businesses. I also thought that, you know, you always hear that, oh, every millionaire has multiple streams of income. So I thought that was necessary to succeed, but it wasn't.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of confusion out there with regards to that. I think the confusion arises though when you see someone at the end of their journey that has multiple streams or multiple things going on, but that's appropriate for them because they've been in it 30, 40 years.
Exactly.
Not at the beginning.
Exactly.
It's funny how that whole distraction thing, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, the shiny penny, or the woman in the red dress.
Yeah.
You know, however you want to frame it, it's equally relevant at that end stage or the beginning stage. It's just that the distraction gets more harder to resist.
100%.
And so it's quite an interesting thing.
Indeed.
I guess by default, the entrepreneur is typically creative and open to opportunities. And so it's almost like you need the creativity and you need that, but also it's your
It can be your downfall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you got through the drop shipping phase, you went and locked in. And so, and then what happened? Tell us about that.
I just, kept doubling down on what worked. I sort of realized that real estate agents were going to be like my recurring business. Like for some reason, when I first started the business, I sort of was targeting more builders and architects and people that won't necessarily give repeat business. And then when I sort of cracked that I need to get real estate agents that are actually performing highly as well, not just like getting real estate agents that are new in the game and don't have a lot of listings and stuff, but more so focusing on the bigger fish that have, 100 properties a year. That was sort of a big turning point because I just doubled down on what I was doing and it just sort of popped off. And that second year summer was probably the biggest like turning point. I think that's where I hit my first 10K month, and that was like the thing, everyone always is like, I want to make 10K a month, and that was like the big wow, like this is possible and I can scale this. And
Yeah. At this point, were you consuming a lot of content online from say
so much?
Heaps, yeah.
Yeah.
And so all like business content, motivational content. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I probably watched too much, and that's what led me to veering off course and trying all these different other business models because, and it's an issue that I face now is that I'm a bit locked down on and not very location independent. So I kept seeing all these entrepreneurs that are making drop shipping stores that can operate them from a laptop, and I'm like, okay, I want to do that. And it was probably influencing me in not so good a way, but I think it definitely helped my mindset of being a bit more hardened, I suppose, and thinking differently and thinking more entrepreneur. It sort of evolved my mindset.
Yeah. And around that period of life, did you have any other friends or people in your circle that were business owners, or most of the people in your life, like high school friends that have gone and gotten their trade?
No, all of my high school friends went and got a trade. I've got my best friend who he's a lot more entrepreneurial minded like me. But other than that, I think the only person that I really had that was my father. He was the only entrepreneur that I really knew, I suppose.
Yeah. And so that does bring me to the point of when things changed. And so like you were how far into your business at the point when you had a pretty unexpected event happen?
I was 3 years in.
Yeah.
3 years in.
And so you went from having a dad to not having a dad, essentially. And it was somewhat expected? Well, not really.
So in 2021, 2021, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, and he was told that without treatment, he'd have about 6 to 12 months to live. And he, for the next 2 years after that, he was, doing chemo, doing radiation, all these different treatments, and eventually nothing was working. And in April 2024, he passed away in my arms.
And so dealing with that as well, so dealing with the loss of your father, you also had the new responsibility of taking over his business, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. And so you had your main business going.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot on your plate.
I do. And that's probably the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with. Because my business was just starting to pop off. Like I was doing really well, and like I was hitting 10K a month consistently. Had a good base of clients, and everything was looking golden. And now it's sort of like I'm splitting my focus, and it's not easy.
No. So to go from having one business to now needing to, keep the wheels on the track of a second business and deal with the loss of your father, man, what a time. And that was only just over a year ago.
Yeah. In fact, it was a year and 2 months ago. April. What are you in now? June, July.
June, July.
Yeah, pretty much a year ago.
Wow. What have you learned in the last year?
A lot of perseverance and I mean, I'm still learning as we go. Like I'm still running into issues, but I've definitely become a better entrepreneur and a better business person. Just managing something so big, because I feel like when you start a business, you go through all the different trials and tribulations, and you learn from your mistakes. You learn from these different stages. Whereas when you inherit a business, it's like my father had that business for 8 years, so he was light years ahead of me. And it was really tricky because it's sort of like having to backtrack and like figure out the systems and the processes and why this is the way it is, and what softwares are used where, and how to manage employees and how to manage contractors and different product fulfillment and everything. It's completely relearning. It's like you're having to learn in 2x, like you're having to learn at super speed, and it's a lot to juggle.
I guess it's like trying to take a finished product or a product and then like reverse engineer it backward, right?
100%.
Like how is
Actually,
this
that's
built?
the perfect way to describe it. Yeah.
Like what does this bit do, and why is that bit there, and how is that bit made?
Yeah.
And simultaneously, how do you keep it running?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely. I'd like to say that my dad left me a company that was turning over millions of dollars, and
it was managed.
It was managed. Like I just had to sit back and watch the money come in. And I think he was trying to set it up like that, but he never got the chance to. And I went through a really, really hard stage where I didn't have any money in the account. And for reference, it's my family's income. So my mum works as the accounts lady for the company. So if she wasn't getting paid, the lights wouldn't be on and all that. So I went through a phase where there was absolutely no money in the account, no sales were coming in. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I couldn't afford to keep the Google ads going. I was hiring Google ads managers and agencies and stuff to try and, as a last resort, to try and bring some money in, and it just kept draining, and I had to put my own savings and stuff into it, and just to keep it alive. And I never want to get back to that phase. So for a year, I pretty much the first couple months that after my dad passed, I paid myself, I think it was $500 a week, and I just couldn't afford to pay myself or anyone, so I said, right, I'm not going to pay myself. I'm just going to work on the company and just treat it as if it's a new company, and that, biding my time. And then, I went about a year from then without paying myself. And I've only recently, in the last probably month or so, started paying myself a regular wage, which feels pretty good.
Hey, quick interruption. When I'm not podcasting, I'm working on growing Alt and working with clients as my main role as a business coach. Right now, I'm looking to meet more fellow business owners. The reason is simple. The more people I know, the more value I can bring, whether it's through coaching, the podcast, or just connecting good people. If you're based in Christchurch, let's grab a coffee. If you're further afield, let's jump on a call. I'd love to hear your story and your goals. You can book a time on our website, altco.nz. That's altco.nz. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. So. Would you feel like there's perhaps some light at the end of the tunnel now? Would you feel like you've got to the point where you've got stability with both of them and that you've been able to plug the gaps?
I definitely think there's a bit more stability. I understand the business a lot more. I've sort of, over the year that I've been managing it, I've tinkered with all the systems, and I've onboarded new designers, and I've sort of spent more time with it and sort of made it my own. So it feels a lot less foreign. So yeah.
And how's that process been? Like, have you found that you've, it's like a jigsaw puzzle that you're putting the pieces together, and like maybe you've got the border done and there's still a whole bunch to infill, but at least you've got some.
I think I'm at a point now where I want to scale it. Like I understand how to get business. I understand how the product is fulfilled. I understand how to manage the people that are in the company. But now I want to scale that business. But that is a really, really hard task when you've also got another company that you're trying to scale and come up with fresh ideas for and bring that up to, 50, 100K a month. It's tricky.
It is tricky, isn't it?
And I think that's what we've been talking about in our coaching sessions, because it's a lot to process.
Yeah, and it's very unique and nuanced in that you can't just shut one down, right? Like you can't just dedicate your focus to one of them.
Mm.
Like there's pros and cons for doing that, and there's reasons for not wanting to do it. But I think the usual advice would be to someone to not do two things at once like this. But this is a very unique situation.
Mm. I sort of felt like I didn't have a choice because, I love my mother dearly, but she's not entrepreneurial minded. So she wouldn't really have a clue on how to run a company and keep it going. So it's like, it was really just me that I was the only one that could save it and keep my family fed, I suppose. So
it's all on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you predict if we're sitting here this time next year, in about a year's time, 12 months' time?
Good question. I've talked about it with you in our coaching sessions, but I really want to have a company that I can operate from a laptop. I think that's always sort of been the goal. Like we were talking about how I was wanting to make a drop shipping store and all that. I want, ideally, to have ApertureHD operational from a laptop and 3D Revolution, well, it's already operational from a laptop. So I just want to basically be the marketing and the sort of oversight and project manager for both companies. And I feel like that'd be a lot easier than what I'm doing now, because at the moment I'm out doing photo shoots and I'm out, all day, and then I have to come home and do project management for 3D Revolution. So it's a lot to juggle. Whereas if I was just in front of a computer for 10 hours a day, then I can sort of look at all of the companies as a whole and they're sort of doing the same actions for both. So it'd be a lot easier to manage.
Yeah, less switching and a bit more focus. Yeah,
100%.
It's like going from a coaching session straight into a podcast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, though, it is one of life's struggles. Though it is going from like thing to thing to thing, and it's something that I've learned over the last few months. I think, especially, is just batching tasks into like-minded tasks. So, like doing all the podcasts in one day, doing all the coaching sessions in 2 or 3 days, all the sales in another day, and just so it's less switching gears.
Exactly.
I mean, it's such a different mindset to go from like creative to, say, accounting to project management to staff management.
Yeah, it sucks. it's like because you don't know what to, and it also sometimes you feel paralyzed. You don't know which you should be focusing on.
Yeah,
and there's no clarity. It's just kind of you have to just trust your gut. It's tricky.
I think at the beginning that is the hardest part, was wearing all those multiple hats simultaneously and trying to manage those hours of the day. But
and as entrepreneurs, we're control freaks. We don't want to give up the control to other contractors or employees and stuff. It's a daunting task.
It's a weird set of opposing desires, isn't it? Like you want control, you want like everything to be done a certain way,
but you don't want to step back. But you also want to step back and let other people do it so that you don't have to, sort of thing.
It's ironic.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you keep motivated when you're going through those phases of difficulty, like when things are really not looking so good? What keeps you going?
I like to refer back to a quote, and I'm sounding real podcasty right now. I heard this quote, but I think it's Persian origin, but it's "this too shall pass." and I was actually considering getting it tattooed, just because it's really helped me. It just basically means that, you know, the good, the bad, like everything eventually will pass. Nothing is permanent. And I think that helps a lot because, you know, when there's, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in the account, you know, it's good to be reminded, you know, not to get ahead of yourself, not to get a big ego and a big head, because, you know, it will pass. And the same as when there's no money in the account, you can barely pay anyone, and it's all the sirens are going off. It's like it will also pass eventually.
Yeah, such a good saying. Yeah, and I think it's really hard when things are good because you're like, this will pass.
Yeah,
damn it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to even think about that. You know, you think, oh, I'm gonna be rich forever, but like, unless you do your stuff right, then yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to ramble.
How do you reward yourself?
I like cars,
Yeah.
and I like watches.
Yeah.
As you know, I just bought my 370Z, which was a big sort of reward for me because, yeah, I love cars, and I think a lot of young guys, especially young entrepreneurs, use cars and vehicles and watches and stuff as milestone rewards and everything. It's a good way to measure success. I want to get a Porsche next year or so. So that's the on the goals list.
So good.
But yeah, I definitely do reward myself.
Yeah.
So
Do you reckon having these material rewards is a part of the game that's it's, you know, a lot of people could look at it and be like, oh, it's like kind of negative, like you shouldn't need material, things like that. But, you know, I think the way I see it is like, it's almost like a manifestation or a representation of just something to have as like a visual reminder. I don't think it's as easy to have as like a financial goal.
yeah,
Whereas having like a physical vehicle or a watch or something, it's just, I don't know,
I mean, numbers on a screen are boring, you know.
pretty boring. Yeah.
I'd like to, you know, it's like any sports player that, you know, wins a championship and they get a trophy. It's like it's showcasing your achievement in physical form. So, and yeah, a lot of people would say, oh, you don't need materialistic stuff. You're just trying to impress people or, you know, flex on people. But I think if you're buying the stuff for you, like when I get a Rolex, that'll be for me because I'm a big watch guy. When I get a Porsche, it'll be for me because I'm a big car guy and I love the brand and love the car and all that. It's like the, you know, the driving around and people seeing you and thinking that you're the man obviously feels good, but I don't think it should be the primary reason that you buy the items.
Yeah. I think it's one of these concepts that I've come to grasp with, just because if I am at a position where I can buy those things, then it means that by default I've reached a certain level. I don't know.
Exactly.
Call it boy math, call it what you will, but I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I don't think it's unhealthy. I think it's only unhealthy if you are going about those goals or those things for the wrong reasons. So
Yeah.
what would you say to your younger self, high school aged Harrison? What would you say to him based on what you know now?
Give your dad a hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know I keep bringing it back to my dad, but he was a big part of my life. But just listen to him more and just sit down and talk about business, ask questions. You know, there are so many questions that I wish that I asked just about business. But back high school, Harry had no idea what he was doing. I would basically just say follow your passions, because I mean I was passionate for filmmaking. Unfortunately, you know, as you turn your passion into a business, you do tend to lose motivation and lose the spark for your passion. It becomes, you know, just a way to make money. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out so far.
Do you think that if it wasn't for filmmaking, do you think you would have tried one of those other pursuits? Like, do you think you would have leaned into the drop shipping further?
Yeah, I think my For You page would have started pushing all this sort of entrepreneurial stuff anyway, and I probably would have ended up doing something.
Yeah.
Doing something. I think my dad being an entrepreneur his whole life, it was only sort of a matter of time, and I just didn't know it. Like I didn't really, even like in high school, I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was. I knew that my dad worked for himself and that he had his own business and all that, but I didn't, all these, I feel there's a big culture around it now. It's not so much like back in the day, it wasn't much of a culture as it is now. There wasn't everything online.
It's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Even the word entrepreneur has such different connotations, you know, like people my age and older, it's almost like a negative in some circles, you know, it's almost like a, you know, they're a bit of a hustler, they're a bit of like an opportunistic type person.
Yeah, I mean, I never saw my dad as an entrepreneur. I just saw him as, you know, my dad going to work.
Yeah.
You know, he's the boss. And yeah, I never really thought much of it. It didn't interest me growing up, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite personality or content creator or author or just individual? Someone that you look to as like good inspiration?
I think a lot of the online personalities have their pros and cons. Like I try and look at it as a very, like I never look at someone and go, oh my gosh, I love everything about them and, you know, I want to be just like them. Like, for example, Andrew Tate, he's a very controversial figure, but he's makes some good points and then says some stuff that you're like, ooh, okay, you know, I don't know about that. But, you know, Iman Gadzhi, just all the main ones really. I watch some of their videos and it's a good source of motivation and just to see what's possible for younger people our age and all that. So.
Yeah, far out. It's so funny. I was joking with someone the other day about bringing up Andrew Tate on a podcast and getting absolutely cancelled. And it's just dangerous territory. But
indeed.
But I think that's a big part of this, though, is just not being afraid of having those conversations. It's not to put my preference out there, but it's just to have curiosity, right?
I think especially with Andrew Tate, I took more of his mindset and stuff from his content and the stuff that popped up on my For You page. It was like, you know, work hard regardless of how you feel and, you know, provide for the people that you love. And that was pretty much what carried me through all this tragedy. Is like every single time that I didn't want to go to the gym or I didn't want to get up and work, it was like, I need to do it. You know, you just heard him in the back calling you broke. So.
Yeah.
So I'm like, got to get up.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if that's the outcome, the takeaway, then amazing.
Exactly.
Don't worry about the rest of the noise, right?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, he says some questionable stuff, but I think it's all just a persona and an act to get the attention that, you know, I mean, we're sitting here talking about him right now, so.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point too. Yeah. So it's funny how different generations have got sort of different people they refer to, right?
Yeah.
Like, so for you, it might be those two, but for me, it's probably more like the Gary V's and maybe like the Goggins type era, you know, like that sort of slightly older. But I mean, I guess that's a good thing about the internet is there's so much access now.
100%.
Yeah, it's not just books, it's not just tapes. It's a plethora of information.
I think my dad, like, go back even further, you know, my dad, Russell Branson and all that they were and Robert Kiyosaki, they were all his sort of mentors growing up, and back then it was just books. You didn't have podcasts and endless content of that person on the internet. So
totally, yeah, and yet that Kiyosaki stuff, it's still so relevant. You know, like some of those, like the cash flow quadrant thing. You know,
I've been meaning to read that book. I've read it before. My first ever finance book was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right.
I think that was a lot of people's first like business book. But I remember I went to a bookshop and I bought it and I took it home and I was sitting on the couch reading it and my dad was like, all these years I've been trying to get you to read books and read for school and all that, and now you want to start reading. I was like,
I don't actually remember the full gist of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Is it more or less just to get out of the rat race, isn't it?
Pretty much. It's just trying to open up your mindset to be like, this is how the rich think about assets and you know, assets, liabilities, and separating the two. You know, there's some stories in there about him buying his first house for like $20,000 on a credit card, and it's like, you know, that's not possible nowadays. So I think there are some outdated topics in the book that don't really apply, but
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the bit that refers to the different types of profession, essentially, like going from employee to self-employed to business owner to investor, I think that's still something that I think about a lot, like thinking about where are you in that sequence. But yeah, still highly relevant. What's like the bigger goal, do you think, if you think about like your life, if you zoom out for a moment? If you think about like 30, 40 years away.
Gosh. I think I want my family to be happy. I want everyone to be taken care of. If I had to sort of get more specific on how I want to live my life, obviously want the fast cars and the mansion and all this, but it's more freedom for me. Like, I want to be able to be confident that I can make money wherever and not have to answer to anyone, not have to ask a boss to go and take a toilet break. I want to be my own man like my father was and just raise a family and give them a pretty cool life.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, no, that's really admirable. I think people are wired one of two ways. I think you're either designed to be self-employed or entrepreneurial, or you're okay being an employee, which, there's nothing right or wrong about either. It's just different.
For sure.
Yeah. I think that you've overcome more than a lot of people have, and you've been thrown into the deep end, so it's impressive.
Thank you. I still feel like I have a lot to learn, and I still feel like I'm floundering a little bit sometimes. So there are days that you feel like you're on top of the world. You close a few big deals, you have a good day, and then the next day it could be all chaos and things are going wrong, and it's the complete opposite side of the spectrum. So I think it's just finding a balance.
Yeah.
Just that's probably my end goal, is to just have that balance of everything being okay.
Yeah, I think it's all right to also not have that totally under control as well, right? Like, I think what I've noticed and observed is that people at any level of the game, they don't always have it nailed. They don't always have the answers.
There's always going to be problems in business, and that's sort of what I'm learning.
Yeah.
It's just like putting out fires.
Well, that's the thing, right? It is just a giant game of solving problems. Yeah.
I think that's why I like it so much. Makes me feel smart.
When it works.
Yeah, when it works, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say to anyone else listening to this that's perhaps your age, perhaps younger, perhaps older, that is trying to figure out what to do, what's next?
Probably just trust your gut. Like you just said before, like, being self-employed isn't for everybody. I think just designing your life, because it's possible. Lifestyle design is very important. I think a lot of people sort of let life play them. Let life live them versus living life. And I think that a lot of people could benefit for just zooming out and taking a look at their life and going, right, in 15, 20, 30 years, what do I want to be doing? Like, do I want to be doing this building job? Do I want to be living in this country? Do I want to be driving this car? Do I want to be with this, girlfriend? I think people just need to be more open-minded that they can actually change their life, because I think a lot of people don't think that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good point.
They think life's very binary.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more opportunity now than there ever has been. So with an event that we've got coming up, we're looking for a keynote speaker, or we were looking for a keynote speaker. And so we approached a person that is, they're a professional speaker, but they've also built a business. And because they're in Australia, they're not in America, they're not too far away. I thought, well, maybe we can make this work.
Yeah.
Travel might not be too bad. They've got an audience, but it's not ginormous.
Yeah.
So we got the rates back, and the speaking rate for one day was $100,000 US.
Ooh.
And I was,
That just
I
made me
was
feel
like,
queasy. Jeez. Wow.
I was anticipating maybe 10, 20,000 max, but getting that rate back, I was like, wow, that's really something. And they book between 80 and 100 speaking gigs per year. And I was like,
All right.
wow, that's good.
It's big money.
That's big money.
Yeah.
And I guess it just highlights the point that, this person has created this income and lifestyle out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That they didn't always have this, right? It's not like they've been given some keys to the kingdom like it's just a thing they've maintained. No, they've created this out of nowhere, right?
Mm.
And I just thought, isn't that cool?
It is. And I think it's just the best part about being an entrepreneur is you get to sort of carve your own path. And like, if it's like full accountability, if you're not making the amount of money that you want to make, it's on you. It's your fault. You can do whatever you want. And I think that also leads into why so many entrepreneurs get depressed and, have this imposter syndrome and all these problems, is because it's like we see other people succeeding and we see people maybe in the same industry as us that are, living it up, and then you're like, well, why am I not there? And then it's, what are they doing differently?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things I find is just not comparing myself to other people.
Mm.
I think that's where that stress came from late last year was, logically I know that I don't need to do it or that I shouldn't do it, but it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
Especially when you're around high-performing people all day. It's
different energy.
Yeah. I mean, it's great, but it's also, it can be harmful, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Like here? All right, sweet. All right.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good and a bad thing.
Mm.
Yeah. Comparison with others, but also...
Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Indeed.
Take the positive, but don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, I think that's probably why there's a lot of depression in just normal people nowadays. Like they see online, they see all these 18, 20-year-olds making millions of dollars with drop shipping or, any other business that they can think of and push onto you for a course. But they're like, why am I not there? What don't I know? And I think it's a big reason for male depression.
You could be right there. Yeah. 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 Whether you're a business owner or not, right? Just looking on social media and seeing other people, traveling, having nice things. Yeah, you could be right.
For sure.
Yeah. Have you managed to like regulate your social media usage, or is it a work in progress?
I don't know. I definitely scroll on Reels and like TikTok and all this short form thing. It's very addictive, but yeah, I think I'm a lot better than I was. I've got too much going on now, so I don't really find any downtime. But when I do, it's nice to be able to just shut off your brain. I think it's got a purpose. It's good to just turn off your brain, maybe even fire some creative muscles. Like you find some videos that you like give you ideas for business or give you ideas for goals and stuff. So I think there's positives and negatives, and I mean I probably might spend like 20, 30 minutes a day on social media doing like mindless scrolling. But other than that, it's usually at night as well, which is just a wind down time.
Yeah, I quite like the mindset of Dan Martell, the Buy Back Your Time author, and he's all about it. He's like, use it as inspiration, like use it as knowledge, use it as creativity. Yeah. And just be really mindful of curating your feed so that it is those things. It's not things that trigger you or things that are irrelevant. Yeah. It's interesting having the two different accounts, the personal one and the alt one, just seeing the content that's on the alt one with very different, just very different content. And so whether it hasn't got any individuals, it's more business pages. It's just totally different.
It's like what you said just then, like content that triggers you. It's like you see some of these comment sections and stuff. People have nothing better to do. Like there are people that will sit there and have a full on like whole page argument in someone else's comment section about a piece of content, and it's like, can you not direct your energy elsewhere?
I know, but how easy is it to get into that like vortex? Not of necessarily engaging, but looking out of curiosity.
Yeah, then you're sitting there reading, you're like, well, I'm no better than
What
them.
am
'Cause
I-
I'm sitting here watching the drama unfold.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We've all
definitely
been there.
Yeah, it's definitely designed to encapsulate you and trap you.
Yeah.
It's giving you them your time.
Speaking of tech, how much are you using AI currently?
Just before we started this podcast, I was telling you, like, when I first was struggling with cash flow issues with 3D Revolution, I downloaded all our bank statements, profit and loss, everything, and I uploaded it into ChatGPT and got it to write me out a report that basically told me the bottlenecks, the software that we are using that we don't necessarily need, and just came up with a whole presentation for me, just showing me, how we can better optimize the business. And like whether it helped or not, I probably saved a few $100s in subscriptions. But yeah, it's just amazing what you can do with AI. And the only other use case I can think of is like making creatives and stuff for Instagram, creating content and like copywriting and making sending out bulk emails. So
Yeah. Do you see yourself using it more or less or about the same in the next 12 months?
definitely more. I want to get ahead of the curve. Like, I know that AI is going to be the future. This thing is moving. I'm hoping that's not interfering with the audio. Anyway, it's definitely the future. Like, AI is going to take over the world, like one way or another. And I'm sort of, it's going to be the people that lean into it and use it as a tool that are going to get ahead. And I'm aware of that, and I'm trying my best to learn it and understand it and all that.
Yeah, it's it's a curiosity of mine. I feel like the surface is only just being scratched, but even just using it with the sessions, right? Like having that Notion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, how good is that?
Yeah.
So good, so helpful. Like, there's no need to really take notes for the purpose of, follow up or like documenting the session. It's all there,
Exactly.
along with action steps. And
Like, have you seen? Like, I showed you that Google VO3, like the video AI stuff.
oh, the fake video.
Like, it's getting stupidly realistic.
It is.
I've actually seen a few ads that have tricked me. Like, it's like, some guy walking towards the camera pitching a business or what they do for a living and blah, blah, blah. And then you look closer and you're like, this is AI. This isn't a real person. They've created this with a prompt.
Scary.
It is scary.
Yeah. You wonder what is next, right?
Mm.
What that next big breakthrough will be. But even just, coming up with the plan for this. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And I think for someone like you and I we've got other priorities, right? There's so much other things to do. But if you can quickly get it to concisely put together an ad, for example, how good?
I think it's just a matter of time. Like, I'm talking in the next couple years, if that, where you're going to have like AI assistants. Like, there are already AI assistants, but like an actual virtual assistant that is completely free. You don't have to pay them hourly or anything, and they will check your inbox, send emails, pay bills, whatever you want. And I think it's only a matter of time before that starts to become a reality, where you're like picking up the phone to talk to someone and they're like, their AI assistant answers it and they go, I'll put you through to Harrison.
Yeah. I think that's already here.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it with a company that's in the loft. They've got some technology similar to that where you call a number and it routes your question basically.
So cool.
Yeah. It's not 100% perfect, but it's very, very close to it.
I mean, you even see, like, back to the whole AI video thing, you've seen how quickly it's progressed. Like a year ago, you'd see an AI video, you go, oh yeah, that's AI. It's very obviously not real.
Yeah.
But now it's genuinely blurring the lines. So it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, totally. I'm curious. But also, I think the business fundamentals stay the same, and it's almost like one of those things. Is this a distraction?
Yeah.
Is this a shiny thing, or is it a real tool.
I think it's worth investing in and learning about. It's only a matter of time. All the robots are going to come for us. I always say please to ChatGPT.
Well, I saw a video on that. Apparently it burns through so much computing power by people being polite.
Really?
Yeah, and so I've stopped. Because I was the same. I used to be polite. But.
No, I got to be polite. Like when the Terminators come, they're gonna have a gun to my head. They're gonna wait.
Well, what the video was saying is that if everyone stopped being polite using like manners, it would just free up so much computing power. I don't know if it's true or not.
That would be funny.
It sounds a little bit far-fetched, but
it could happen.
I'm no expert.
I have no idea. Yeah.
No idea. Any other thoughts, feedback, jokes, lessons?
Not really. I think talking about your coaching for a second, the reason that I started coaching with you and got in contact with you was purely because I felt lost, and I felt, at that time I didn't have anyone in my life that was an entrepreneur who had a business who I could ask for advice and ask for, use as a backing board. And yeah, I found your coaching very helpful because it's just having someone to talk to who gets sort of what you're going through and can offer advice that's actually good, and not just. I find that a lot of people, if you bring them a question and you say, I'm going to do this in my business, they don't really care. They'll sort of just agree with you. They'll be like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, but it might not actually be a good idea because it just sounds good to them. So having someone to actually challenge your ideas and everything has been very helpful.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear.
Did you get that?
Let's hope so.
Testimonial.
I guess when you think about it practically, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like your friends doing their own thing, your team or your contractors, that's not really their role. You might be lucky enough to have one or two people in your life that are suitable, sort of like quasi coaches or mentors or sounding boards. But, I think that's something that I've noticed the further I've gone along with this coaching journey is that the further someone along is in business, like the more years they've been in it, the less people they've got around them. And so whether that's just through the process of time and like they've just distilled their focus down to like it's either business or family, basically. And so, I guess it just highlights the need or the opportunity for someone like myself and Alt to have that seat. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lonely journey.
It is lonely, and I feel that as well. Thankfully I've got great people around me, but that's one of the reasons why I pay a coach as well, right? It's that it's a very distinct role that they fill, and so I see value in it too. 100%. Yeah, it's actually been really handy having Anaru on board too. He's been amazing just from like a sounding board perspective.
Yeah,
like half of it is just that ability to talk with someone who's like in a position where they're supportive / neutral, not biased. They want a positive outcome, but it's just like having a discussion with someone can be all that you need sometimes.
Definitely. Like it can literally drive you crazy sitting in an office by yourself. I think that's why like the loft is a good option for entrepreneurs. It's like just having people around you, even if they're not directly involved with your business, just having people to talk to and having people around. Yeah. Because it can drive you nuts just being isolated, and especially like my office is like a little cubby in my bedroom that's was supposed to be a little ensuite, but I decided that I wanted it to be built into an office. So that's it can get very isolated and lonely. Yeah, just getting that idea or problem out of your head into the hands of someone else. Yeah, and eventually AI will be that person as well. Yeah, I mean, already, to be honest, right? Like I use ChatGPT a lot for bouncing ideas around. I think there's a long way to come yet, but
does serve some of it, whatever purpose.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to replace the human interaction part of it
No.
anytime soon.
No.
I think from an intelligence standpoint, it's probably already
Unlimited
there.
knowledge.
Yeah.
They say that in, I think it was on Stephen Bartlett's podcast talking about AI, and they were saying that in like a few years that AI will be something like 1,000 times smarter than the smartest human alive, which is, and it won't just be a machine, it'll be like a actual being that is self-aware, can procreate and multiply, and it's some sci-fi stuff, right? like this is exactly what we made movies about not to do, but it's happening apparently.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Everyone's got their own take on it, but I don't know. It could just be, I don't know.
people were too worried about them taking jobs, but I don't think they realize how many jobs AI will create. Like, it's just another evolution of humanity. Like, we've had the Industrial Revolution, the .com era, and now the AI revolution.
Yeah. I guess why people are skeptical is that there have been things that have come and gone, right? Like NFTs come to mind.
I lost so much money. Yeah, I remember back in the day buying a couple of them, and I lost I think $300, and at the time that was like all my money. So,
But isn't that a great example?
yeah,
There was so much chat around them absolutely changing the world. There's going to be so much money. It's going to be a gold rush.
yeah.
And then it just flops completely. Not to say that AI is likely going to fall into that camp, but
I don't think AI will fall into that, because I mean it's already getting put into cars and different like it's everywhere. I don't know if it'll be a fad like NFTs. Like NFTs were just an interesting period of time, wasn't it?
it was,
People
yeah.
were printing millions of dollars from monkey photos.
I do wonder why AI has not integrated better with hardware, though. That's the weird thing to me. Like, you've had the Alexa phase. You've got Siri, but it's kind of not it, right?
I've always wondered why they haven't put ChatGPT and stuff into Siri and Alexa and all that. But I don't know.
Don't know. Deep question.
Yeah.
Don't have the answers for that one.
Indeed.
I appreciate your time, Harrison. I appreciate your vulnerability and coming on here and talking about your journey, which involves such a traumatic event. And so to do what you've done and to hang in there and to keep showing up, it's really impressive.
Appreciate it.
So keep doing what you're doing, keep growing, keep doing those hard things.
Do.
I really take my hat off to you. So thank you for what you're doing.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Harrison.